This is referential treatment.
What am I saying?
We're gonna go with
Season 2. Undefined and unrefined.
a little defined.
A little refined. Season 2 has kind of gotten a self-explanation.
What do we say next? Like, comment, subscribe. We don't care. Do we care?
We still cuss. And it's still a dialectic between two.
And we're live.
God, I'm so fucking hungry.
And back.
So
You're hungry already?
empty stomach, dude. I haven't had anything since lunch.
Do you want to go get food first?
Nah.
We've done this before. You're like, I'm just going to push through. And then by the end of it, you're like, you know what? That was a bad recording.
Nah, I'm gonna
Delete
be great.
all of it.
I'm gonna be great. I'm gonna be great. It's gonna be fine.
It's going to be great. Like, season 8 of Always Sunny and then not going with any of the actors great.
It's kind of like season 2 attempt 2 for us. Did you put out that season 1?
No.
Or season 2 episode 1?
No.
Damn. There's some good stuff in that, I remember.
There was really great. We talked about systemic systems of education, and then that's
Fuck,
just
that's
gone.
so good. Although I was feeling really, what's the word? Idealistic on the way here. I was
About
listening
what?
I was listening to that band that sounds like college idealism.
Okay.
So I was feeling really idealistic on the way.
About what?
I don't know.
Just in general?
Yeah.
It's a mood?
Yeah. It's a mood I have. You don't get that mood?
Idealistic? No.
You don't just feel idealistic sometimes?
No. It's not something
Oh,
I'm capable of.
Jeez. You're missing out.
Except when I see Monster Hunter trailers.
Then you get idealistic.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a bad video with a
Oh,
terrible
God
voiceover.
damn it. Why is that like the tail end? At the tail, like if that was an early trailer, I would feel so much better.
We didn't watch the whole thing though. Maybe at the end they're like, just kidding. This
What?
is garbage.
Devil Joe shows up? This is amazing. And then it just...
And kills the voiceover guy for acting like a fucking pirate. Why is he talking like a pirate?
I thought he was Australian.
No.
An Australian pirate.
Not even close. That was not
I
true
know,
at all.
it wasn't Australian.
What will the hunter do? That actually was better than what they did. I just heard myself doing that. It sounded better. God damn, that's terrible.
I don't know. The point is we should work for Capcom. They should hire
Yeah.
us. I realize we can say whatever we want because even if something got demonetized, we're not making anything.
You can't get demonetized if you've never been monetized.
Exactly.
You won't get monetized because
We drop F-bombs. We could probably say the N-word years.
Whoa.
Well, let me finish. Years before anyone finds out.
Oh. That's true. That is true. I'm still not going to, but I'll know.
I'm just saying we have the option.
The white guilt is strong.
Just save that. Put it in your back pocket.
No, I'm not putting that in any of my pockets. Not going anywhere. Not saving that. Not happening. It's
What
called
do
an
you think-
unwise investment.
If you saved a black life, do you think that gives you like
No.
one N-word use once?
Ooh, well,
Catch
R or no R?
a black baby falling out of a window.
Still the context. Like it can't come out. Just like I can't just say it.
God, white guilt is strong.
It won't flow right. Like if someone comes out like, "Oh, you saved my baby," it's like, maybe then. Maybe.
My job here is done. Thanks. Have a nice day.
My
You
actually,
drop
I can't. I can't.
My ninja. Just it's
Pleasure. My pleasure. Here you go. Here's your baby.
That's the whitest thing you can
I'm
say.
leaving.
After saving someone.
My
Look at the time.
heart is pounding from the fear.
People are probably getting tired of this bit.
Okay.
So how was your time?
Our break.
Our break.
Our hiatus.
We were on a break.
But we still saw each other like every day, and like still went to work and everything. And we just were recording.
We kept seeing each other. We just didn't record
We
any of that.
Yeah.
We had a lot of podcast-worthy conversations.
We did.
That are never going to see the light of day.
We had like a very in-depth Bloodborne discussion that could have been great.
We, in fact, went over the entire lore of the game
Yeah,
that
we did.
you've played through 6 times, and you still didn't understand.
Even referencing back to like Lovecraftian themes and like.
We got into like the topic of cosmic horror as a whole, and where a lot of people fail at understanding what they're trying to make. Because even now, there's like a major Cthulhu game coming out. I think it's just called Call of Cthulhu.
That's been out. Call of Cthulhu is an old game.
But then it's a remake.
It's like a joke RPG.
No, this is a serious one.
Really?
Yeah.
Making another?
Yeah.
I mean.
I don't know
that's
if it's
not
called
fun.
Call of Cthulhu. I know it's a Cthulhu like base game.
Oh.
It's not out yet.
That's one thing that's like. Bloodborne did it well because I think it wasn't too cosmic horror. Like, there's still a base experience there that, yes, if you want to dig deeper and get the cosmic core elements of it, you can.
Yeah.
But there's still a base experience that's really good. If you're making something that's only cosmic core, it's a lot harder to deliver that.
So, like, imagine you were going to deliver that in a movie. And here's where I think Bloodborne gets it pretty square on. If you're going to do cosmic core from a non-omnipotent perspective, meaning that you're not like third person watching these events going on.
Yeah, there's like a narrator.
So I think if you really wanted to do a cosmic horror, you would have to go with a narrator. That would make more sense to me. Because if you go with an individual, and it's also, unless you were able to do it from one of the individual of the gods, because that's one of the main thing in cosmic horror, or whatever the entity was. If you could do it from the perspective of the entity, but here's the tricky thing. If you understand cosmic horror, and the basis, you can understand it as a human, then it's something greater than you. You would never be able to write something that is greater than you.
It wouldn't even be a cosmic horror anymore if it's written from the narrative of the cosmic being.
Well, I'm saying like the author would be human,
story.
So we would just have to take your word for it that that's what it's like to be a cosmic entity.
That's essentially what every Lovecraft book is. Something weird happened, and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And now I'm crazy.
Yes, if it's told from the person.
The person experienced it.
Yeah. But and to our listeners now, they're probably like, what are these idiots talking
Who's
about?
Lovecraft?
H.P. Lovecraft.
He's an author. And
he did not have anything to do with love or crafts.
He was crafty.
He loved his craft.
I'm hanging my head.
No, he didn't have sex with a boat. That's what you're thinking.
I'm hanging my head more. That's even worse. No one thought that.
If you'd hang your head any further, you'd be Robin Williams.
Oh my god. Maybe we should just go eat instead of recording. Holy shit. So that's a conversation about what we're not talking about. About a conversation we had.
What? Did we have a conversation about suicide?
No, about Bloodborne. We were talking about how we talked about Bloodborne, how great it was to talk about Bloodborne.
No. I just wanted to actually revisit cosmic horror for a bit because it was kind of a big year for it last year.
It was, yeah.
You had the It movie.
Oh yeah. That's technically
Pennywise is definitely he's a cosmic entity, and you view that through the perception of the kids, and sometimes a little bit you view it from Pennywise in the new movie.
Do you think if they address that more in the second one, that'll be more of a risk? Like, I think taking that direction is more of a risky decision than just going basic. Like,
there's some really great dialogue where they tease that part out. Where one of the kids,
if you know of it already, it's a tease towards it. But if you don't know of it, it doesn't mean anything.
It's that sentence is a really good introductory to cosmic horror. I think it's the black kid in the group says that whatever it is part of the town, has always been part of the town, and is just as much as part of the town as the water tower or like the landmarks in the town, but simultaneously not in it at all. Yeah,
I don't know. That's sounded more like just traditional horror, like, ooh, it's always been in the house, or like, the house has always been haunted, or it's like, oh, it's always been here.
He tries to explain it as it's something that's like more all-consuming, but he's not sure, and he does this all off feelings that he has just by being in the town.
Yeah, I feel like the first one they didn't take it in that direction wholly. Anyways, they played it kind of safe, playing more so like the just
traditional
scary
horror
thing. Yeah, instead of the cosmic horror element of it.
Well, except for that, some of the weird shit he does.
Even that's like more traditional horror.
Elongating his limbs and pulling him back in, and then being in the projector and coming out.
That one definitely. That's very cosmic. That's
horror.
More cosmic horror.
Because at some point you realize, like, what are the limits of this individual's power?
The other stuff I think was more just like traditional horror.
Like
though.
TNG actually does a pretty good job. Like the Q episodes. Q as a cosmic entity, you really get like, oh, you're at the whim of this individual and anything they want.
And you think, oh, that's every time he shows up, he does something more powerful than last time. You're like, when does this motherfucker stop?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Which with Pennywise, the interesting thing is he wants to tease it out. He refers to it as tenderizing the meat at one point in the book, and it's like if you tenderize meat, it's not something like boom, you hit it hard once it's good. It's multiple times, and it's the appropriate amount. You tease it out, right?
Did they address that at all in the movie?
In the movie, that he's
like, was there ever a point the kid was like, just kill me, and he's like, no, it's better this way.
It's pretty obvious the fact that he could kill you way quicker if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's part of like later on people are like, why does he pick on children, or why does he go after children?
Taste.
And the whole thing is he's been there so long, because he actually gets there during the dinosaurs. He's been in town so long, he scares them when they're younger, when they're youthful, and then by the time they're adults, he still feeds off them, but it's easier to scare children because their minds aren't developed, and they're already, you're like, you're in a very fragile state physically, mentally. Yeah, they can't drink the pain away. Oxycontin, they don't have easy access to it, at least not at the time. They do now. In fact, everyone I know who has Oxycontin got it probably from school.
Oh. I don't know who has Oxycontin.
Oh, they probably get it from their mom's cabinet.
Moms have Oxycontin?
Yeah, moms have Oxycontin. There's an opium epidemic in this country, in case you didn't know.
No, I'm not being exposed to it. I've seen no opium. In fact, I thought opium was like...
Opioids, sorry, which are made from...
Okay, cause like, wasn't opium like the Wild West drug?
No, it's Chinese. We had the Opium Wars.
Yeah.
Which, actually, it's not from China. The British had it, and the Chinese had tea.
And they got the Chinese
hooked on opium.
To it.
Yeah, so they would have more leverage bargaining for tea.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Fuck British people, man.
That's fucked up. I mean,
the empire was crazy.
It worked, but
it did. But just imagine trying to do that today. Like,
I imagine it does today, but not in like such a drastic.
No, I'm saying let's scale this down and imagine you as an individual as opposed to Britain as a country, as a principality, where it's just like your next door neighbor makes really good pie, and every now and then she'll give you pie.
So I give her heroin.
So you give her heroin, and she's like, God, I need more heroin. I'll do anything for it. You'd be like, bake me more pies.
I think it's an equivalent exchange there. Heroin's very expensive. Pie supplies, a little less so, I'd say.
They're addicted. You're not. You have the bargaining power.
No. We had this argument at work about what addiction is. Because there's a difference between addiction and, I think it was habitual behavior or something like that.
Because there are things that are habit forming.
Yeah.
And then there are things you are addicted to. Because addiction has been narrowed down to like a gene.
But yeah, it's like alpha phos B is what it is.
But I think that's more or less like your likelihood.
Yes, it's your likelihood.
It's like an affinity for getting addicted to stuff.
And that's, if I recall correctly, it's the gene that controls, I'm going to get this wrong, the amounts of endorphins.
The reward system.
It's the reward system, yeah.
Yeah.
How quickly that gets triggered to certain things. Like how more. Yeah. It's a gradual increase. For people who are unlikely to get addicted, it takes longer for that to go like, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. Keep more and more and more. And I think if it's lesser, like, if you express that A phos B more, alpha phos B, or just triangle, is triangle alpha?
Delta
phos B. Delta phos B. If it expresses more, it activates more for things, and you get addicted more easily. Yeah. Which means that anything that activates your reward system is technically addictive?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
So part of
habitual.
Part of where addiction leads to like cycling depression to needing something again, by abusing the reward part of your brain, and this happens with a lot of drug users, and even coffee. People get addicted to coffee, which is way more socially acceptable. Yeah. But their brain has essentially been hijacked by a habit they have, in which they go, they do this, they get reward.
Yeah.
But then your brain, since you have so many, is it serotonin? Yeah. You get flooded with serotonin immediately. Like if you eat chocolate, which is also very addictive.
Yeah.
But if it gets flooded over and over multiple times, you have less sites on the receptors to bind to. So then your natural serotonin later, you produce less of it. Yeah. Because your body's like, oh, you have tons of serotonin, I don't need to make more.
And that's exactly what makes withdrawal deadly.
Yeah, so you're more likely for depression and suicidal thoughts and ideations because you can't even receive your own serotonin properly. You're making less of it, and even the receptor sites are lessened.
You know what's a weird thought?
What?
You don't actually enjoy anything. You always enjoy, like, endorphins and serotonin and stuff. The chemicals.
Yeah.
And they're just different causes for the same chemicals.
What's his name? Not Hunter S. Thompson, the other...
Richard Pryor?
Not comedian. Hunter S. Thompson is not a comedian. He wrote...
I just threw his name out.
Oh, I love Richard Pryor. And the Black Dynamite episode with Richard Pryor. It's like, do you know how hard it is for people never to stop laughing at you?
Is it Nietzsche?
Nietzsche? No, it's
him?
Not Nietzsche. He's a philosopher. This is a big drug culture guy, and it's not Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, Mitch Hedberg.
No. You're no help whenever I'm trying to figure shit out.
I'm not.
I have a better time going to my mind palace than asking you anything.
Take a trip. We'll get it out.
Terrence McKenna. I literally had to go to my mom's house. Fuck you.
Don't know who it is.
Terrence McKenna said, "We're all holding." That's like one of his big lines, because he was talking about DMT, and that your body naturally produces it.
Yeah.
Like if DMT is a drug, then we're all holding.
Oh, okay. Right, because he identified the chemical. Is DMT a part of a drug?
Dextromorphine
Mithlate?
I don't remember. I know it's dextromorphine trimethyl something. Also referred to as a spirit molecule. It's in like ayahuasca and all these other.
Okay, so it is common.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. Yeah, it's not only that, but it's identified as, some people think it's a biological white noise. There's an entire movie. There's a movie and a book. The book came first, and the movie's based off the book called DMT, the Spirit Molecule.
But is the book better?
No, they're both really good.
The book is always better.
Not in this case. I mean, if you want hard data, this time, this specifically, versus the movie has a really great, interviews. I think interviews are better in video.
Yeah, they are.
And a lot of the book goes from, this specific study, which you have a hard time conceptualizing, versus the movie it interviews people who took the drug and they're trying to explain to you. And then there's a graphical representation as opposed to you trying to already think of geometric figures, which is the most difficult thing you can try to think of, randomly generate geometric figures. So we found out
hard?
It's very hard to visualize that, to randomly generate geometric figures in your head. Imagine trying to see.
I'm doing it now. It doesn't feel that hard.
To do it well, audio visualizers, trying to do that and it be pseudo random. It's difficult for a lot of people.
I'm just imagining 3-dimensional shapes in my head.
Or just square, triangle. Yeah, but they're simple shapes that you know.
No, pyramid, 3D hexagon.
Yeah. And then imagine them morphing into other stuff and things like that, and being bombarded with that.
That doesn't feel hard at all.
It's difficult.
There is also a study about how
also
some
about
people
scaling too, where it's just how many
much
do you think?
Okay, yeah. It's
and
one
then
at a
this
time
is rapidly they describe it as a complete sensory sensory overload. You're it's like
Shapes.
A different language. Yeah.
Okay.
It's different for everyone, but
that's the same about just thought in general. Though, some people are good at thinking of these things, while some people they can't picture things in their head.
Yeah.
They can only
I told you about the limit.
They think of concepts, but not actual visual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The limit of dots people can imagine.
What?
Yeah, dots simultaneously or simple figures spheres, apples, squares. All right, imagine one apple.
Uh-huh.
And then immediately in a row next to it, imagine two apples simultaneously.
Okay.
2 apple spoon.
Yeah.
Now try 3.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Did you add 2 plus 2, or did you think of all 4 at once?
I still have the 1, the 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, this is supposed to be, you're supposed to do them all together every time. The point is, once you get to 4 and...
No, I mean they're side by side.
Okay, yeah,
they're all still
that's
there.
What I'm saying.
They're just side by side.
But did you think of them all at once, or did you think of 2 and then 2?
No, they didn't go away.
Most people think of 2 and then 2.
Really?
And then most people, if you say 5, at that 5's usually the break off point, because at that point they do 2 then 3, and then 6 is always 3 and 3.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, this is weird. I'm staring off while thinking of it visually, but yeah, towards 5 and then 6, it starts getting it's almost like the computation takes longer.
Yeah, because you don't think of 6 as a number by itself. A lot of people, not meaning to, think of it as 3 and 3.
Yeah, it's simpler.
Yeah. But no one ever does 2 and 4. It's so strange. Or a series of 2s.
2, 2, 2,
yeah, because a lot of people think of 4 as 2 2s.
Well, 3 2s is more to think about than 2 3s.
Yeah, it is.
We're in some weird fucky brain stuff now.
Yeah, there's an entire show about this, about just weird brain stuff like that and perceptions.
Yeah.
It was on Netflix. I don't remember.
Human brain ain't as good as it.
It's really good. So a lot of people compare it to computers and whatnot, but that's a terrible analogy.
I think it's a shit computer.
Huh?
I think brains are a shit computer.
There's some things we're really better at being random.
Than computers, yeah.
I've explained that to you before. It's computers can do anything you tell them to, except be random. It's always pseudo-random.
Yeah.
Because even there's no such thing as an insane computer. It's just a corrupted file.
That's very true, yeah.
You can have insane people in which they wire themselves incorrectly. Also, computers can't wire themselves.
That's
Not
true.
yet.
Well, computers can wire computers, but...
They can, but I'm talking about,
that's still based off the rules
stroke.
Applied to the
My computer can't have an electrical stroke and then fix itself.
Wouldn't that suck?
Yeah, if it's just I'm too old.
I mean, it sucks worse for humans to have strokes, but it'd be incredibly inconvenient.
Speak for yourself. If I'm only dealing with the right side of my computer, I have problems.
I mean, one does suck more, but it would be incredibly inconvenient if your computer has.
But the crazy thing is you can remap.
Yeah, I guess you can.
No one's ever taught you how to remap your brain.
Probably because it's more complex, the human brain, than a computer.
Definitely. So, pros and cons.
Yeah. There's a thing, too, about, like, I think, who was it? Fuck. CGP Grey. He made a video.
That is.
Oh, he's a really, really good YouTube video maker. That's a really good explanation for things. My phone's not on silent. Boop, boop, boop. He makes really good videos about things, but I think someone asked him, like, hey, can you describe or explain how AI works, or how actually, his example of YouTube, you know the bots on YouTube that, like, suggest videos and stuff like that? Like, how have these gotten so good? Yeah. How is this bot able to suggest stuff? Yeah, okay. Right. And he explains, this is how these automated bots are made. You design a bot that will teach other bots.
Yep. And
you design a bot that makes other bots. And it just connects different lines, essentially, like A to C, C to B, A to 7, whatever, like just different variations of things, right? And one bot, the teacher bot, knows the right answer to the questions. The example he gave was, okay, the teacher bot knows what pictures are of a bee. It knows which ones aren't. It has the answer sheet, essentially. The manufacturer bot will make other bots and just do random connections, essentially. And it'll just spin those through, the student bots through, and have them try to guess and figure out which ones are pictures of bees and which ones aren't. And by the success of it, if it gets enough right or more than average, it'll then model the next set of student robots off of that one and just go through the cycle continuously off of these random variations. Kind of like super speed evolution.
That's how it works now.
Random.
Originally, we tried fielding the data ourselves.
Yeah.
Where there was no...
We can't do it fast
We
enough.
were the teacher bots.
Yeah. That's what captchas are.
What?
That's what captures are.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. But yeah, we were trying... So now that it's kind of diverted into you have two sets. Because now someone was kind of like, well, what if you then check the teacher bot as a third step in this?
Yeah.
And you have like a hypervisor, which you're going to do if you're actually testing a product or whatever.
Well, so that would be good for like expanding the testing ground, essentially.
Yeah.
So instead of just more students, you're also making more teachers so you can test more students.
Yeah, which it is a lot of time in testing
and
being
over
able to
time
over
you
and
need
over.
you need to increase the test as well.
Yes.
So they'll get good at answering that question.
Well,
but
this
the
is
question
really
isn't
good
expansive enough.
with like Roomba mapping.
Yeah.
The first version of Roomba they tried when they were setting it up, they were trying to do it in like, imagine this room, but we had to tell it to go in a square around us in the room, and so we would have to say, hey, go this many feet, then turn right, then turn
this many degrees. Turn this many degrees.
Yeah, exactly. So we would have to do that every time. And then so we would run it one time, and if it made one error, we're like, oh, we gotta go back and change that. So like, hey, don't go that far this time, or don't turn this many degrees this time.
Yeah. And
then we would run it again if it ran to any objects, and we would continue that process of the Q&A, and then as opposed to the teacher bot where you're just getting it to you can run it vastly more times. And by the end of it, we would come back like an hour later after it's ran the test 1,000 times. Yeah. And we're like, hey, how's it look? Run it.
I just thought of something.
What?
How does a Roomba clean a corner?
What do you mean?
How does a Roomba clean a corner? They're circular.
Yeah. They don't.
So you still have dirty corners. I just realized that. I was like, when you said the square thing, I was like, but they're circles. So they can't clean corners.
If you have a Roomba, you need a rounded house.
Yeah. That's weird.
Roombas would make excellent lighthouse cleaners, though.
Yeah. They would.
Compared to every square vacuum.
Unless the Roomba can't detect that they're back to where they started.
Yeah.
So it's constantly trying to find the mapping in the ground and think it's just in an endless room. Yeah. Because it's going in a circle over and over and over and over and over.
That's like me trying to win an argument with my girlfriend.
Yeah. Listen, baby. Let me express how I feel. I'm like a Roomba in a lighthouse. What? It feels endless. Go in circles. I don't know where I started, where I stopped.
I just know this is hard.
Yeah. I need intervention. Something needs to change.
Bring in the triangle.
Bring a corner in this bitch. I need to turn.
Wouldn't a triangle be a better option? Because it could rotate like a circle when it needs to.
Yeah.
But then also if it was a corner, it's like...
Well, also, like, if you had, like, little feelers on the side, you could just have it slide the wall, hit the corner, turn, have the other side hit the wall, and just continue on. Patent. That's us. That's ours.
Dibs.
It's our $1 billion idea. Go to Shark Tank. What's your idea?
What is this?
You seen a Roomba? Yeah.
Triangle.
That's your idea? Yep.
Explain. Explain why we shouldn't hit you with copyright right now.
Explain. Okay. You seen a Roomba? Yeah. Yes. Triangle. You said the same thing. It is the same thing.
Have you ever bought a Shark Tank product?
God, no. No one's bought a Shark Tank product because they're not real products.
No.
They're not real. I am convinced.
They make them just for the show?
Yes, I am convinced that they just have some like college graduate prop makers.
Yeah.
Just sitting all day long thinking like, what bullshit can we come up with? And like just have some street actor come in like, hey, I've got a product. What's this? It's a can opener that punctures the bottom of the can instead of the top, and you just squeeze the can over what you want.
Like, how does it not just leak out instantly?
That was a better idea than what I was thinking on Shark Tank. Damn it. It's a Roomba, but triangle.
Do you know what I think would be great for this podcast? Eventually, if they hand us... Oh, definitely. That's always an option. We just replace ourselves, but we sit behind our replacements and QC them the entire time. We become the teacher bots.
No, we become the editors.
I would love that.
And I still can't edit, so it's still just you.
Yeah.
I was just like, ooh, that was good, that was good. Save that. What are we talking about?
I said, do you know what would become great for this podcast? And you're like, quitting.
Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
If someone eventually gave us a complex topic they want us to cover that we were clearly not educated enough and not refined enough to talk about.
How is that different than every podcast?
I don't have to think of the material.
We kind of don't. It kind of just flows at some point.
Yeah, we're always in a state of free fall here at Referential Treatment.
Yeah. And we sometimes land upon something comfortable. But
like,
then we slide right
just
through.
Like Grandpa.
Just what?
Those hips can't get any more broke.
It's like jelly. Speaking of jelly,
wait.
Did I make you touch my finger?
No, I don't want to touch your finger. Dude. I have a better topic than your finger.
Well, actually, yeah, it's pretty. Okay, yeah. It's pretty gooey.
I'll start and end that story. He fucked up working out and hurt his finger.
Bad. It's
gooey. The cooler topic
the bone's
is
gooey.
What we were talking about earlier. You mentioned having a hyperbaric chamber for training.
Is that hyperbaric or hyperbolic?
In the show, it's hyperbolic. In real life, it'd be hyperbaric.
Isn't it hyperbolic not right? Because it's hyperbole, isn't it?
I don't know. Because hyperbaric is pressure chambers that we use for divers.
Yeah.
And a barometer measures air pressure. But I don't know.
Measure the barrows.
I don't know. What does a hyperbolic do in a ball? Measure balls. Mind broken. I don't know why it's a hyperbolic time chamber. No, because the guy who made it was...
Ball is Latin for gravity.
Well, I know in pressure chambers, it does that through, I think it's like vacuum and air pressure is how it accomplishes it.
Yeah.
And versus hyperbolic time chamber, how they're manipulating time, the answer has to be gravity?
Yes.
So it just increases gravity through some other means? I don't know. But the whole point is, if you were able to increase gravity, not just the perception of gravity, because that's closer to what a hyperbaric chamber does.
Yeah, it fakes it, basically.
Yeah, it fakes it. But if you were actually able to change gravity itself...
Let me tell you something.
What?
You'd have a different technology entirely to keep that contained.
What do you mean?
If you can generate...
I really was hoping it was going to be something shittier, like a picket fence. Like,
no. If you can generate gravity on something, that just means you made something very, very, very dense.
Yeah.
That you'd have to have a different invention entirely to keep that contained. To keep the effect of that gravity from not just...
I think essentially in Z, they're just trying to... And once again, we should preface... It's definitely a cartoon, but let's project too much onto this because it's what we do. We're talking about Dragon Ball Z. There's some eye rolls, and if there are any women listening, they probably just stop listening entirely. They're like, what is this? They just cut it off.
Buddy, that happened a season ago.
I don't know why. I was imagining just one. Just who stuck it out. I'm going to keep giving this a try.
It's one of our moms.
It's both of our moms.
Just disapproving. Just shaking their heads. No.
There's tons of Dragon Ball Z fans out there.
There are.
And if anyone's listening to this podcast, I hope we have that much in common.
Just clickbait the title here, and it's like, Dragon Ball Z, a lie? Or some shit like that. I don't know.
The thumbnail is just something provocative that you want to click on.
Yeah.
It's just Broly with bald, like Nappa with a mustache.
No, it's all the characters with their head shaved and with the Krillin dots.
People would click on that.
People would probably click on that.
Anyways, in the show, there's a chamber they use for training that simulates higher gravity and...
Slower time?
It slows time. So, inside of the chamber, time moves slower relative to the outside.
Yes.
So you could do a year's worth of training. A year's worth of training within the chamber, and what you perceive as a year to have happened, a year in Earth days specifically. They explained that on Namek because Namek days are different from Earth days.
Yes.
So the time chamber wouldn't work there unless you had like relativity knobs on the outside or something. So if there was an opponent in the show they had a fight and they weren't ready for it, they would run into the chamber, lock the door behind, and they're like, okay.
Practice for a few years.
Yeah, practice for a few years.
Well, the
and
opponent
then
gets
come
practice
out
like 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. Which there is a concept they're throwing around right now, which seems very science fiction-y and being able to practice something in your dreams. But apparently practice that you have in your dreams still affects your muscle memory on the outside.
Reading about that, yeah.
So the closest we could probably get to like a hyperbolic chamber would be the relative time of you perceiving your dreams.
I tried doing that to become familiar with Korean.
Yeah.
But now, if I hear Korean, it makes me sleepy. Like, I'd go to sleep listening to the news.
Yeah.
Before, like, class.
Yeah.
And I just got really accustomed to that.
It's interesting. Earlier you asked me what it would be like if you were able to go in that chamber, and I said, number one, you would be shorter.
Yeah, if you stayed in it too long.
Yeah. Because it would literally compress your spine.
Yeah.
And your internal organs would have more pressure than they're used to. Like more force actually working against them.
Your eyes would mess up.
Well, in a hyperbaric chamber, if it's turned up too high or you spend too much time in there, it pops eyes out of sockets.
Yeah, your blood does something to it, right? You get bubbles in your blood?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like called diver's something. I don't remember. It's not diver's blood.
It's called bubble blood. Bubble blood.
Bubble blood.
He got the bubble blood.
No,
bring him up.
Hematoma is whenever you have like coagulation going on in your fucking veins. It's really grody. If you ever seen it, it looks like blood jelly coming out whenever they take it out. And the of the surgeries I've seen for it, like Dr. Pimple Popper, it's always like cutting the hematoma open, reaching in there in gloves, of course, and scooping it out, and then like forcing the blood to circulate by putting pressure on it and bleed on purpose.
Oh, soup blood. Soup blood.
Yes, no, damn it.
It cost me soup blood.
He's doing a bloodborne thing. So you folks know.
It's called referential treatment. If you didn't come in for references, I don't know. You fucked up.
I don't know what you expected.
We like 4 minutes and we've hit like 16 references.
Yeah. Just unnatural segues every time.
Yeah. It's only natural if you're
it's
the
just
listener.
out here burning
to us,
calories,
perfectly
jumping to
natural.
conclusions. It's one of my favorite lines in the song.
What song?
It's a song by Logic. I'm trying to remember which one. It's a concept album, so I always listen to it straight through. Someone's like, "What track is that?"
I don't know, actually.
I only know albums.
I know the album it's on.
Yeah.
Aren't all albums supposed to be that way, though?
No.
Pop albums aren't that way.
They are not.
Typically not, I think.
Oh.
They're not one cohesive writer, though, so typically no.
I don't think any country album's a concept album either.
But it's so similar themes to the whole thing might as well be.
We're generalizing, but
of course.
Yeah.
Look at a comment.
I think
Gaga albums are always made with a cohesive message from beginning to end.
She has a country song.
Of course she does.
Yeah. Wasn't she on like a country
contract?
It was like a reality show where they wanted to turn already existing stars to like country music stars, specifically country music stars. Like,
wouldn't that be counterintuitive though?
They're like, "Hey, Flavor Flav, we want to teach you country." It was actually like something like that.
Wouldn't that be counterintuitive to the genre of country though?
What do you mean? You're saying country's not all inclusive?
No, what I'm saying is, it just shows how fakeable it is.
That there's a formula and we could teach people to do it?
Yes.
That's true of any song or any genre, I think. Because there's a formulaic way of doing that, and that's why we have innovators who come by and they're like, "Oh, I would have never thought to do that." It's like, that's because you're a basic bitch.
You didn't change the formula.
Yeah. Or they didn't contribute something that was their own. Because usually whenever we're like, "Oh, this person was so innovative for the time," I feel they usually show up and they just did the thing they wanted to do, because a lot of people who try to intentionally innovate something fail to do so.
That's true.
Versus someone who just comes with their own personality, because it's the most difficult thing you can fake, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and I think good music, this is generalization as well, and probably not what I really think about good music, but you already have the music you want to make in mind, and then only later, you probably have an idea, but only later is it assigned a genre.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start a band like, oh, I'm going to start a punk band.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what are you going to make? Okay, you're just going to make all the hallmarks of a punk band. But you don't already have music. You don't
They
already
get the
have...
look, they get the right instruments.
Exactly.
And...
But that's not the soul of it.
Yeah.
Whereas the other way around, I think you start with the soul of what you want to make.
Versus like when punk started,
right.
They just had a spirit of rebellion they wanted to put to music, and then we called it punk.
Yeah. And just like...
And the scene around it developed organically also.
Yeah. And then people later on said, oh, I want to be a punk band too, and then they started adopting the hallmarks of what the prior one was.
Yeah, because it becomes a culture, and then they just kind of mirror that culture, and they're like, you need this, and that, because what they see from that culture, they're like, you need this, and this. And it becomes a novelty, which is essentially what we're talking about.
And an originality.
Yeah.
I mean, our podcast too, like, we didn't set out thinking, oh, we're going to make like a game podcast, or this podcast, or that podcast.
Or a Let's Play.
Or Let's
everyone is a fucking Let's Play.
Like, I wouldn't exactly know what to label our podcast as.
Yeah, well, we've talked about aspects of, like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to do a Let's Play?
Yeah.
But it wasn't because we wanted to gain more viewers or anything like that, or be more popular, or just, I don't know. We enjoy certain games, and we thought adding a podcast element to a game we've already played would make it would be new to it. Because we played Bloodborne a lot. But we haven't streamed while playing Bloodborne.
No, we never recorded anything either.
Yeah, and I think one of the first things I asked you was like, have people streamed that game
Actually,
a lot?
I have streamed before in my past. I was just telling you that.
Yeah.
When I was 14, when streaming first became a thing, I would stream.
Have you ever streamed while Bloodboarding?
No, it wasn't out yet. I was 14.
Oh, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
all I think Bloodborne is.
Okay. That'll happen later.
Someday. No, I remember doing that.
There's going to be so many Monster Hunter streams by people who've never played Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I'm not watching any of them. I'm not going to watch them.
My goal in this is to not get all gatekeepery, but I know I'm gonna. It's
already happened.
Gonna happen.
You want to be gatekeepery.
I know, but it's really difficult because I know I'm gonna have to deal with these people in Hunt.
There's actually a community that was recently created. It's like, I forgot what it's called, but it's specifically for veteran players to sign up to like help new players, like to be assigned a new player to help.
They're
like
the
a group
beaters.
of new players. Essentially, yes. It's like one veteran for 3 new players, I think, that help them on hunts and like teach them
That's
stuff.
disgusting.
I think it's cool. I just want to do it myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad it's there.
I'm thinking, I gotta show you that picture. It's just like, listen up, you maggots, and then it's like, I'm assuming all of you played the tutorial, and one girl's like, what's the tutorial? And then instantly being eaten by Andronath.
Like, there's 2 others. It's like, what was it? One was cooking.
One was cooking, one was being eaten, the other one was just running away.
Yeah.
And it's the Black Belt Hunter, which is hilarious.
That's funny.
How hacky do you think the Black Belt Hunter is?
That's fun in some way.
What do you mean?
Not quite the frustration of like having to deal with new people at something, but seeing them progress. I personally find it kind of satisfying.
I think that's very much a person-to-person thing.
It is. Yeah.
Because I never do anything for the sake of others to progress.
You're not one to teach.
No.
No, you're not one to teach. You're definitely for personal progression, but you're not for like seeing other people progress, which is fine. It's just different styles, I guess. Different personalities.
Yeah, I always look at the end of the day as like, well, your progress is great and all, but I'm not stuck in a room with you when I go to bed at night. I'm just stuck with me.
That's true.
No, I'm saying like my own like, I can't think in your head. Yeah. I have to think in my head.
Yeah.
So if I think, man, they're bad at that, I'm still allowed to turn my head and go back to whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
Versus if I'm bad at something, I'm gonna be up tonight.
If
I'm bad at something and I want to be good at it.
Speaking of addiction, I've got such an addiction to helping people and teaching people.
I've noticed.
That at the gym, you weren't there. At the rock climbing gym, we were leaving as like there's a group of girls, and one of them turns to the other and says like, I can't do pull-ups, and just like turned on me and said, get the band. And she's like, what? Like, they're all like a little off. I was like, use the band. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, come here. And I showed them like the band and how to put it on the bar, and I had to put your knee in the band and do pull-ups. I'm like, oh, thanks so much. It's like, you're welcome. And I get so satisfied to like people who think they can't do something or don't know how to do something. It's so simple, it's so easy. Let me show you. Let me help you.
Yeah.
But it comes with a cost. There's a flip side to it.
Okay.
I get so annoyed
when they don't seem appreciative.
No, that's fine. I get my own satisfaction. They don't need to say anything or do anything really. I get really, really annoyed when someone says they can't do something, or for whatever reason, or they quit, I show them the way to, and all that's lacking is
more effort.
They're giving up.
Yeah.
Or they're not willing to put the effort into trying.
Well, they weren't wrong.
Yeah. And, I'm like, you're right. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Because you won't do it.
Exactly.
Not because you can't.
Yeah.
Because you refuse to.
Yep.
I get so annoyed when that happens. People quit. Like, I've shown you, and I know, and it sounds kind of like, I've shown you how to do it like I do it. Why can't you do it like I do it? Well, I understand people are different. Like height differences, technique differences.
You cannot create motivation.
You can. And then when it comes down to that being the missing element, and I know that's it, I've subtracted every other possibility there. Like, I know it's not that you're not tall enough for this. It's not those. It's not those causes. It's purely just motivation at this point.
Yeah.
Or trust in yourself, or confidence, or this or that, right? And you can't inject that into someone else. So.
Yeah.
That frustrates me. What are you doing? It's heroin.
No, I'm saying
you're gonna be great.
Which we talked a little bit about it because you were talking about doing it. And I was talking about Gundam, in that it comes to the point where you can either read someone's intent, or we go into this weird hive mind in which we can feel each other's intent and feed off each other's intent. And if I'm feeling very angry and aggressive, it would make you more aggressive in this scenario by being around me and being receptive to how I'm feeling.
That's true, though.
Which is definitely, like, it already happens.
Yeah.
But this would be if it worked extremely well. If the efficiency rate of how I'm feeling...
It wasn't dependent upon the other person's empathy. It's just, no matter who it is, they're also getting angry.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah. So, if you were able to get to a point where you could share your own motivation, how crazy would that be? Or it works with pain, too. That's another crazy thing. Because at one point, Amuro, who's the main character who can do this in Generation 1 of Gundam, runs into a girl who's in... They force her to be a pilot in a prototype Gundam, which is, like, accentuates how the pilot feels. So the pilot's feeling aggressive, they're very aggressive.
Yeah.
But this can easily backfire, and they tried making her like a super soldier, also a child, so child super soldier, which is kind of a theme in Gundam. But if she goes into a state of despair, it's awful, because it's a heightened state of whatever she's feeling. And then also she's in a giant mechanical suit that can murder tons of people, which of course happens mid-battle.
That's a good idea.
What?
Let's give her a weapon.
Yeah.
And make her unstable.
So that was the whole thing. Before they put her in the mobile suit, multiple times they thought they had conditioned her. They thought they forced all the emotion out of her, and now she was an efficient attack dog. They're like, okay, be mad at this person right now. It would work.
Too mad.
Yeah, it worked in the beginning, and then she just kind of lost it.
Yeah.
Because she got next to someone else who was able to do exactly what I was saying. Channel empathy, channel anger, but he focused more on channeling his empathy into individuals and understanding whoever his opponent was, which is the main crux of the series that I talk. It's a act where it's ideology versus ideology, and he gets to the point where he realizes, oh, you're not bad, and I'm not good. I'm just trying to understand what got you up to this point, and trying to interject myself so that the best solution for everyone happens. Because in the second part of the series, like, imagine there was a TV show in which you got to see World War II happen. It's up the Germans won, and you're seeing it from the German perspective. So people at home in Germany who are Nazis, so it should go well for them, and it should go poorly for others, right?
Yeah.
So the entire thing is from Nazi perspective. So you're like, it's going to be a lot of them fine dining, living off the high life. They're winners of a war, and they have a skewed ideology, which would make you think they would take better care of their people than other individuals. Season 2 of this show, or the second part of the series, shows how the guys who won were then kind of turned into a tyrannical dictatorship against their own people, which is the opposite of what you're thinking. You're like, oh, the good guys win, the bad guys lost. And then season 2, you're like, wait, the good guys are kind of bad guys now?
Yeah.
And it just shows that it wasn't about good or evil in the first place. It's about having a power in place, and that power corrupts, of course. But should power corrupt? Because when you're managing a nation, a planet, large groups of people, you're going to have to do very tough decisions, because you're allocating resources or deciding who gets to live where. And then if you do this weird thing where you like redistribute the wealth, you're going to piss off the wealthy, and then pissing off wealthy people could disrupt your entire economy.
Doesn't matter though.
I'm saying about the initial reaction. I'm not whether you should piss off wealthy or not. I'm just saying that this is a multifaceted thing, and there are repercussions for any action you take.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
So it gets to the point where it's not like, well, what's the right thing to do? No. You do almost have to get to a logical standpoint in which you
what's
say,
the least damaging thing to do?
what's the least damaging thing to do with intentions towards the long term?
Yeah.
And then whenever you're presented with new information that a previous
decision
was not the right decision and it is in fact hurting someone, you need to make that right for whoever you've harmed and do your best to find a new solution. As opposed to doubling down saying, no, I made the right decision last time. There's no way I could have been wrong because my intentions were right the first time. There's no way it could be bad.
Was that the problem with the bailouts in like 2001?
I think that's initially what happened. They were like, no one should go poor. All right, I'll give you a better example. I recently found out through a documentary that everyone's like, well, mass farming is bad. Mass farming creates bad habits, and we shouldn't do factory farming. Factory farming was started with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
And that World War II happens, and Germany goes into famine, and we see the pitfalls of communism in that when communists are poor, all of them are poor. And then, like, when that economy destabilizes, like, you see the Deutschmark go through the roof, and they're all, like, trying to buy a loaf of bread, and it's an insane amount. It's turmoil, and then there's famine. And we had went through the Great Depression not too far before World War II. So we try to institute systems in which famine would never happen in America again. We have to make excess. And they're like, well, what if some of it expired? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's better than people starving. Yeah. Not that we're saying that, well, we have it now. Of course, if someone's trying to pick apart factory farming. I'm just using this as an example. It's like, well, there's hungry people today. Different problem. Not an economist. I'm just saying that is something, too.
It's not for lack of food that people are hungry.
Yeah. Yeah, but the main thing is what I'm trying to say is that would start with good intentions. Now, once we get information that we can do it in a better fashion, and it is excessively destructive to life in general, we should not try to double down and say, no, we started it for good reasons, we're not undoing the system because of the dangers of famine. We would say, okay, what are the best ways to do this? We would look at the numbers. How much would that cost? What are the costs? What are the benefits? And you would make that decision. And then I also thought how that's essentially what makes Captain Picard a great captain, is because that's almost his exact process. And a lot of characters, part of Starfleet, whenever presented with new information, because there's so many episodes where they think they're helping the good guys. Yeah, they're trying to do the right thing, or what they perceive to do is the right thing from Starfleet, because it's based on a very logical position of fairness and like how you should act. They even have like the Prime directive, so that makes sense.
It does, but there are some like not catch-22, but some conundrums there.
With the Prime directive?
No. Oh. With it's along the lines of what you're saying. I think I'm trying to condense it into like a phrase, but essentially, it's when you're making a logical decision about what's best, you can't always make the decision about the immediate consequences, especially long-term considerations, but you consider the long-term consequences of things, right? Mm-hmm. So, for instance, okay, your economy's crashing because there was a bubble and it's popping, right?
Yeah.
And it'll cause a recession or depression if you let the bubble pop, bail people out. So bail people out and avoid that immediate consequence. But the system remains in place. Yeah. The system that spawned a bubble occurring.
You've also created debt, too.
Yeah, so that too, yeah.
If anything, you've worsened the system further down the line.
Yes, yeah.
For an immediate patch now. Yeah.
So instead, what you're saying would be, it would be the wiser choice to see this recession coming, see the bubble going to pop, don't do anything about it, let it pop, let the recession happen, let the economy dump and recover on its own, and change the system that allows for this bubble to be
Not
created.
Necessarily. You weigh the
long term.
You weigh the impact
of both
options, and then whichever is the better of the two.
For who though?
You do that one for everyone.
So that's the tricky thing.
You don't have a government for anyone particularly. So you have a government for everyone here.
Yeah, that's the tricky thing. No, you kind of established already that the consequences are not balanced between the wealthy and non-wealthy, right? Mm-hmm. So the consequences that the wealthy can exact, if they are wronged in their eyes...
It's not about them being wronged right. It's the fact that if having the wealthy in the current happy position
with
they
their
are...
power.
Huh?
With the power they have.
Don't assign power. Assign roles.
Right.
In the role they're fulfilling now, is there any benefit from that role?
To what? Society?
Society as a whole, yeah. From rich people doing rich people stuff, is there a benefit from it?
That's debatable, I think.
There is, and we don't have to go into that entire dialogue. I'm just saying, if you were seriously trying to assess this decision or not, Number one, is it time sensitive? Number two, you're gonna have to look at things as role based, as opposed to anyone being right or wrong. Take the ideology out of it.
Oh shit!
You literally just have to look at what's going on here and what are the rules.
Yeah.
And part of where I feel the great analogy for this is, if you want to become a biologist and you want to assess habitats, and it's very easy through like anthropomorphic cartoons we've had, like Bambi and stuff, to assign a good guy and a bad guy, with the bad guy being predator and the good guy or the innocent one being prey of nature. And the more further along the lines you are in Prey Town, as opposed to being an alpha predator, you could assign bad or good. And really, that's an ideology you're placing on animals who may or may not be able to hold concepts like good or evil, and they're really just probably trying to survive.
Yeah.
They're most definitely trying to survive. That seems to be their number one motive. Do they have a fucking religion?
Some sheep are just trying to have a good time, but most are trying to survive.
Dolphins want to have a good time.
Too smart.
Yeah.
Intelligence breeds destruction.
The way to do it for a biologist to correctly do their job and assess the habitat in the biome of things is not going in and saying, kill all the alpha predators. In fact, that is a really good way to destabilize what's currently going on in that biome. You have to go in and assess, okay, what are the invasive predators, aka what belongs here? What is my original I'm trying to start with? You have to assess what the original is. What's your goal? What are you trying to get to? And usually for biologists, it's whatever is normal for this area to stay that way.
Balance.
Yeah, so they would assess what's close to extinction and what is it plethora of.
Yeah.
And that's different for different animals, because if it's a larger, like, you don't want the same number of bear as the same number of rabbits.
Yeah.
In fact, I've heard that they usually use it's like biomass, because like for a bear this size, he would have to eat this many rabbits to continue.
Yeah. I'm not sure biomass is the right term for that.
It's not exactly biomass, because biomass is like how many ants exist. Yes. And that would be the weight of them.
The biomass.
But I'm saying like you use like closer to biomass as opposed to a 1-to-1 ratio.
There's a term for that. I don't remember what the term is though.
Yeah. So you get to the point where everything's in equilibrium for those populations to continue, or the ones that are damaged to grow.
So almost like it seems that like you're saying for every rich person to a certain threshold, there needs to be so many poor people, or like middle class.
Or middle class or poor people, or well, I feel like if you're being a good politician, you should strive for no poor people. And have like
middle class and above.
Yeah, middle class and above.
But is that still middle class though?
So that's not even realistic, because once again, I think nature is a really good analogy there. That there are some losers in nature. Yeah. And you can't undo that, because the grass got to get eaten at some point.
As long as they survive enough, though.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the thing, though. That's my problem with that analogy, because I've thought about that before too. It's like nature. Like it'll be predators and providers essentially, or you know, everyone's just trying to survive at a certain level, and you can have more grass. Yeah. And less sheep, and even less predators upon those sheep, and even less predators upon those predators, right? Yeah. It has to get smaller, or else the system doesn't work. That works in that sense because there are variations in the species of the examples you're giving, right? Mm-hmm. So the sheep are different than the wolves, but poor people are no different than rich people, I think. It's because we're all the same species, I don't think the same kind of food pyramid, in a way, works that way.
You're looking at it as a value of human life. Yeah. So then do not correlate a value of human life whenever you're trying to base economy, which is literally placing a monetary value upon something. Yeah. Which we've already discussed. You have to have monetary values for things. Otherwise, you're trading chickens for cows, which there's losers in that scenarios too.
How many chickens for how many cows?
It's just, it's when you need change back. Like, ooh, you want a leg? Like, so we've assigned...
If they're already killing it, then yes, you can get change. But
live leg, that's all I serve.
I get 3 cows or that.
It's a leg with googly eyes on it.
Eggs. Eat them fast, they're going bad.
So, we've established, in that sense, there are differences between rich people and poor people. I got it. There's differences in their spending habits. Yeah. There's difference in the buying power, for sure. Spending habits and buying power are not correlated as people usually think they are. Poor people are way more likely to continue to spend most of what they have versus rich people amass wealth.
Almost like that's how most of them get there. You can't spend that much money.
Oh, for sure.
So here's what I remember was, because there was more to my point that I was like, well, I'm not making that point exactly how I used to. It's that in the animal biome there, on the top and the bottom, you can't smash them closer together. You can't make some of that grass become sheep and some of that sheep become predators and some of the predators go down to sheep, right? You can't smash those too close together. Yeah. But with economies and humans, you technically can.
You can
take from the wealthy and give to the poor and bring those two close together. Yes, the wealthy are less wealthy and they're close to the middle class, but so are the poor close to the middle class too. You can bring them in closer.
So the idea is they would take their lower class habits with them, unless you taught them a whole bunch, like how to spend this money,
well, that's
how to
the
make
question
more
too.
money.
Are lower class habits, quote unquote, due to what is the cause of lower class habits? Is it being lower class that breeds those habits, or is it the habits causing the lower class?
It's a bunch of things, but usually it seems to be habits. It seems to be habits are the largest factor.
What's the source?
Because people who win the lottery spend it on ridiculous, stupid shit with no actual hindsight. And the answer is they don't have any experience being rich.
Yeah.
Versus dynasties who are installed, those people almost get a separate education entirely.
Yes.
And if you do a bad job at a dynasty, that's where you get a bad heir that will spend wildly and has those bad habits because they have no experience being rich. And they didn't have any of the process or the experience getting there.
That actually gets a little bit to like
for entrepreneurship.
The episode that will never be released, the first episode of season 2, about the whole education system, how disadvantaged people are treated differently than advantaged people in schools, even in the same school. And I was talking about how my experience with that, right? Mm-hmm. And we can probably use that clip if we want to, or just splice it in, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. But I think that example of, a poor person receiving a large sum of money, of course they won't know how to manage because they never managed something like that before, most likely. Yeah. Statistically, it's less likely, right?
Most people win the lottery and end up broke a couple years after.
It's such a huge jump between being poor to being rich. Yeah. Of course you don't do that.
They don't know how to survive against taxes.
But imagine if it was a gradual. Because some payouts for a lottery it's actually up to the person who receives
lump sum
or retirement, right? Yeah. And I think I would be willing to bet that the people who choose the overtime payments end up being better off in the long run than the people who take the lump sum. Okay. But I think if it was a gradual shift, I would be willing to bet that the majority of people who are lower class or poor would learn how to
just look at jobs pay scale.
Habits,
I mean, we work in a building where they have pay scale, and you have people who start the job, and I'm sure this is true of everywhere, who start a job, and you can say the same of professional athletes too. First, this is a once again multifaceted thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna nail it down quite here because we're talking about how people spend their lives. There's a huge thing about lifestyle and where you fit in. It's like, are you gonna buy for that? Like, got a ball, and some of them are people who come from come here as immigrants have a ridiculous saving habit for the most part, because
is it a learned behavior?
Yeah, they've seen scarcity.
Yeah,
and scarcity, and it depends to what extent. Like, was it hard to get by, or were you literally starving? And also, on the other hand, people who run into money get that immediate amount very quick. If they've never known scarcity before, it's a concept they literally haven't met yet. So how are they supposed to prepare for a concept they haven't met yet? So either they're going to have to care enough to go out and get advice. You're going to have to hire a financial advisor. So you're putting your fate in someone else's hands and hoping you get the correct advice. So or you could just, and that's just the advice column. You can get someone else to manage your money. You could literally hand the reins over to someone else. Once again, putting your fate in someone else's hands.
Make my check accessible.
But
you handle it.
This still comes down to kind of a motivation thing. It's like, do you care about learning how to do this correctly and and being successful? At the end of the day, we're talking about people who are usually up in the 1% aren't the heiresses. They're in high percentages, but the 1%, those are people who like tactically learn to get their way up there and stay up there.
Right.
So those are habits, that's knowledge, and then just the assets to be there in the first place. So you could go to school, you could become an economist, and you could have all of the knowledge, and then you could force yourself to have the habits. But if you still don't have the means to get there...
Any assets.
Yeah, like any assets, the first two alone aren't any good. So if you were handed the assets, and you had the knowledge, but you never went through and made the habits, then you're just someone who is rich, but still makes bad decisions. They're not getting richer.
Most likely.
Yeah. Well, if we're talking about bad spending habits, they're getting poorer, guarantee you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus the other way, if
that's interesting.
You had the assets, let's see, you had the habits, but you didn't have the knowledge, you would probably just stay at the same level.
That's interesting too. Like when you think about every level of, I guess, society, why are people at the level they're at? Like, what caused us to be somewhat middle class? What caused the rich to be rich? What caused the poor to be poor?
Yeah.
And how hard would it actually be, and it's dependent on the individual, But how hard is it actually to traverse those
to migrate
stratus, right?
Yeah.
Like, and is it easier to become middle class to rich than it is to become poverty middle class? Is it harder to go from middle class to poverty than it is from rich to middle class?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's not a gradual increase or a steady incline. It's going to be dependent on the person, of course. Like, it'd be interesting. I don't know if there's some way to calculate that or like kind of logic it out. Where, hey man, this is how at risk you are from dropping from middle class to poverty.
Yeah.
But here is your potential to go from middle class to, rich or whatever. And that's something like there's so many variables in that scenario that it would be an impossible computation really. But I don't know if there's some like mystical way to like, hello God, what are my chances?
The economy God.
Yeah. Really, I just like numbers.
We've hit our new time spot for
already?
Our new format. Yeah, dude, that was an hour.
Oh my God.
We could release it tonight, even if we want to. How about that?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
okay, just got started.
Yeah, they don't even know yet, but we're now doing our time slots.
Oh yeah, because we discussed season 2, episode 1, where we explain that.
Yeah, and we're doing seasons, so now they know that we've had a break.
Oh yeah,
we're doing seasons.
By the way,
if you stuck it out this long, now you know.
Yeah. Leave in the comments if you're willing to listen to shit audio. We might release episode 1.
I don't have it anymore.
What? It's
I don't think it's saved. I think it corrupted or something.
On the bright side, we can revisit some things that we talked about then and not do it.
Fresh ears. Should I close out on a bullhorn?
What? Oh, okay. I think like a literal bullhorn. It's like
under my seat.
1, you have one. 2, no, that sounds terrible. You mean bullhorn as in the character? Okay.
Yeah, like Dynamite.
Hit me.
If you want to make a fat stack, go ahead and sell some crack. There you go.
I hated it!